Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. Your host, Tyler Smith, here. What I do on this channel is I talk about different occult and esoteric research topics, such as Freemasonry, Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, the Tree of Death, astrotheology and the Zodiac, and much, much more. So if you're new to this channel, I recommend you go ahead and check out some of my other material. I cover a lot on this channel. I also get into magic on this channel. I would consider myself a beginner practitioner, even though I've been doing, spiritual exercises for a while and was following kind of the Golden Dawn curriculum. I've definitely kind of slowed myself down recently, and I've been working a lot on grounding. Just getting those firm foundations as far as meditation, work on breathing and things like that, and really just get back to basics. And then I'm going to work outwards from there. So really the only practice I've been doing lately is just the normal lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram every now and again, as well as the Kabbalistic cross, and then the relaxation ritual. So I've been going back to basics. As I learn more information, as I'm doing more research, I'm finding out more and more that I did not previously know, which has changed my opinions about some things. Or I guess it's been more clarification, like, oh, I knew there was something more to this. So I've been researching a lot of new things, as you can see on this channel, and it's been going in kind of a different direction. But still mostly doing the same thing, covering different esoteric topics. The topic of this video, which was requested by subscriber Falcone, I think it's Falcone, maybe it's Falcone, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. We had some really good conversations on the live chat, and we were talking about the checkerboard floor, sometimes known as the Mosaic Pavement, in Freemasonry. And we see this checkerboard floor, pretty much the symbolism of that we see a lot. You see it in movies, you see it in Freemasonry. Most temples, even the Golden Dawn temples had a checkerboard floor. So we are going to get into the symbolism of the checkerboard floor in this video. So stick around if you want to learn more. And I have compiled some notes and I have some pictures as well. So in its most basic essence, what is this checkerboard floor symbolic of? Basically, it's duality. So, a lot of the times people will say something is good or something is bad, or something is righteous or good and or evil. As Hermeticists, we know that these are different degrees of polarity. They are not necessarily opposites, but they're just at different places on the spectrum, different degrees of existence. So this is kind of a deeper understanding to the black and white squares, rather than just saying this is good or bad, righteous, evil, but it's more of a dualistic thing. The yin and the yang, that's kind of a deeper understanding of the symbolism of the Mosaic Pavement. It represents duality. So when Christ says he walks on water, water is representative of the emotions. So he's walking above the emotions. He is conquering, he is mastering the water. Same kind of symbolism is going on here with this checkerboard floor. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here shortly. I think first I'm going to go ahead and read some information that I've gathered on the symbolism of the checkerboard floor. This is just a little excerpt from some Masonic education that I have. I think the information on the Entered Apprentice Fellowcraft and Master Mason degree can probably be accessed on the Grand Lodge of Ohio website. So I recommend that you go on there if you want to try to find the whole packet. Let me see if I can find the first page of one of these. There's 3 different parts, one for each degree. So here we go. It should look something like this if you want to pause that and look at it. It's questions and answers, and it's recommended to be read by anyone who is interested in Freemasonry. It says this manual does not disclose any of the esoteric portions of the ritual of the Grand Lodge. The contents of this manual therefore may be discussed with and read by any person interested in acquiring knowledge about Freemasonry. Back to the checkerboard floor. The ornaments of the lodge consist of the Mosaic Pavement, and this is learned in the Entered Apprentice degree. The ornaments of the lodge consist of the Mosaic Pavement, the indented tassel, and the blazing star. We walk in a world of opposites, good and evil, night and day, hot and cold, love and hate. The Mosaic Pavement symbolizes this fact. Again, all of these symbols should be studied further to find out what they conceal and what they reveal. So really short explanation there. And in the degree of the Entered Apprentice, it's spoken about just real briefly like that. You're not really given much more information on it than that. And you really, it's up to you to do further research. So this excerpt right here is coming from Myth, Magic, and Masonry by Jamie Paul Lamb. I think that's how you say his name. He's a fellow 32nd degree Freemason. The Mosaic Pavement and the Blazing Star. It has been suggested that mosaic patterns and tile work on the floor of ancient temples, from which the checkered pavement found in many Masonic lodge rooms is descended, function not solely as aesthetic choices but also served as elaborate sundials. Ancient architects utilized the effects of sunlight in their designs not only to position the edifice in space, but also to accentuate its symbolic import. The trajectory of sunlight was directed through the portals of a building at specified angles depending on the time of year based on various astronomical cycles, thus illuminating a certain area within the temple and thereby marking temporally significant events such as the equinoxes and solstices. This could be an elaboration on the same premise by which a temple is, quote, squared, by the utilization of 2 pillars marking the solstices as discussed above. A properly oriented temple would thereby serve as a sort of annual or seasonal chronometer. This architecturally deliberate phenomenon can be observed in many structures around the globe. Very interesting. The blazing star is also a really important symbol that goes along with the checkerboard floor. It's mentioned alongside it, and it represents divine providence. Basically, really what it is it's the pentagram. It's the blue pentagram, so it's the portal into the divine. As we know, the pentagrams act as portals. Watch my pentagram video if you want to learn more about the pentagrams in depth. The blazing star, a 5-pointed star usually within a circle, is often depicted in the center of the checkered pavement. This symbol is alternately said to represent the Sun, Sirius, and Venus. Of course, we talked a lot about Venus symbolism. The solar interpretation is obvious in terms of the Sun's Masonic significance as being the glory and beauty of the day, etc. But the theory of the blazing star as a representation of either Venus or Sirius provides us with much more substance for our contemplation. The blazing star's relationship to Venus, also anciently known as the morning and or evening star, or Lucifer, may best be illustrated by the fact that it is represented in the form of a pentagram. This significance comes primarily from the fact that Venus traces a 5-petaled rosette at the completion of its synodic period, which is 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 days. The amount of time it takes for the planet to return 583.9211 to its originally observed position relative to that of the sun as seen from the perspective of Earth, thus itself alluding to the pentagram. The pentagram, perhaps due to its association with either Pythagoreanism or as an elemental symbol in alchemy, is relatively common as a Masonic symbol and appears in the appendant body, the Order of the Eastern Star, as well as the blazing star. So you see that same symbol represented in the Eastern Star. Goes on to talk about how it represents the quintessence of alchemy, the blazing star. The Grand Arcanum to the Kabbalists is the sacred pentagram. It was the star that the wise men followed in Bethlehem. Okay, so that pretty much, it's going on to other topics at this point. But I highly recommend getting this book, Myth, Magic, and Masonry. Short little book, but it's really good. It has a lot of great information, and it's very similar to the things that I cover on this channel. So props to him and P.D. Newman. They're doing the great work. Trying to get, actually really scholarly with the information. They're very professional. They have a lot of good information when it comes to Freemasonry. Let's see what Manly P. Hall has to say in The Secret Teachings of All Ages about the Mosaic Pavement. As soon as I can find it. Thought I had this saved on the right page. Go back to the index and see where this was. The checkerboard floor is kind of one of the harder items to find in an index because you don't know if it's under Mosaic Pavement or checkerboard floor, or sometimes it's checkered floor. So you have to look at a couple different checkerboard floor. Page 572 says I was on the right page. But this also is not what I remember reading. Here we go. It was at the very bottom. The checkerboard floor upon which the modern Freemasonic Lodge stands is the old tracing board of the Dionysiac architects. And while the modern organization is no longer limited to workmen's guilds, it still preserves in its symbols the metaphysical doctrines of the ancient society of which it is presumably the outgrowth. The investigator of the origin of Freemasonic symbolism who desires to trace the development of the order through the ages will find a practical suggestion in the following statement by Charles W. Heckthorne. But considering that Freemasonry is a tree, the roots of which spread through so many soils, it follows that traces thereof must be found in its fruit, that its language and ritual should retain much of the various sects and institutions it has passed through before arriving at the present state. And in Masonry, we meet with Indian, Egyptian, Jewish, and Christian ideas, terms, and symbols. So as I've said before a lot on this channel, as these teachings move through time, as they come into the modern era, they adapt so many different, pieces of other mystery schools and different traditions that what we have in our modern day is it's a modern adaptation, a modern form. So really, I don't think he goes too much more into that, the symbol of the checkerboard floor. He's really brief on it. But you think, Manly P. Hall, he would go into a little bit more of the symbolism, and maybe he does somewhere and I'm just not finding it. So if any of you have the Secret Teachings of All Ages, you find a different passage on the checkerboard floor, let me know. But I think Albert Pike really sums it up the best in Morals and Dogma. He has like the best little section on it, in my opinion. The ornaments of a lodge are said to be the Mosaic Pavement, the indented tessel, and the blazing star. The Mosaic Pavement, checkered in squares or lozenges, Lozenges, weird word, is said to represent the ground floor of King Solomon's temple, and the indented tessel, that beautiful tessellated border which surrounded it. The blazing star in the center is said to be an emblem of divine providence and commemorative of the star which appeared to guide the wise men of the east to the place of our Savior's nativity, which we already spoke about. I also do a whole series on my YouTube channel about morals and dogma. So if you haven't checked out those videos or that playlist yet, I highly recommend that you do. But there was no stone seen within the temple. The walls were covered with planks of cedar, and the floor was covered with planks of fir in the original temples. There was not really a checkerboard floor in the old Israelitish temples, as far as I know. There is no evidence that there was such a pavement or floor in the temple or such a bordering. In England, anciently, the tracing board was surrounded with an indented border, and it is only in America that such a border is put around the Mosaic Pavement. The tesserae indeed are the squares or lozenges of the pavement. In England, also, the indented or denticulated border is called tessellated because it has 4 tassels, said to represent temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. It was termed the indented tassel, but this is a misuse of words. It is a tesserated pavement with an indented border round it. And this is another book that there's a couple other sections on the blazing star. Like, this is not the only section about it, and it talks about the checkerboard floor really briefly in other sections. But this particular section, this is the best section, the most complete section when talking about the checkerboard floor. It's in the first chapter, The Apprentice. So going back to the entered apprentice degree. And I've been talking a lot about foundation and getting back to basics anyway lately. So this video is really good, like a really good grounding video. We are literally talking about the ground floor of the temple. So, yep. The pavement alternately black and white, symbolizes, whether so intended or not, the good and evil principles of the Egyptian and Persian creed. It is the warfare of Michael and Satan, of the gods and titans, of Balder and Loke, between light and shadow, which is darkness, day and night, freedom and despotism, religious liberty and the arbitrary dogmas of a church that thinks for its votaries and whose pontiff claims to be infallible, and the decretals, not sure what that word is, of its councils to constitute a gospel. So yeah, Albert Pike, he'll kind of get on these like little political like type rants in his book, but it's showing you the as above, so below correspondence. He starts talking about these principles of evil coming through as, a battle between, spiritually opposed beings, and then it further manifests down more into the physical kingdom. Then he starts talking about freedom and despotism, which are these political ideologies, and then he starts talking about the churches and the physical institutions. So all of this is connected, as above, so below, all of these things. The edges of this pavement, if in lozenges, will necessarily be indented or denticulated, toothed like a saw, and to complete and finish it, a bordering is necessary. It is completed by tassels as ornaments at the corners. If these and the bordering have any symbolic meaning, it is fanciful and arbitrary. To find in the blazing star of 5 points an allusion to the divine providence is also fanciful, and to make it commemorative of the star that is said to have guided the Magi is to give it a meaning comparatively modern, as Albert Pike says. So he's saying those are actually more modern meanings of the symbol, not so much ancient. Let's get into it further. Originally, it represented Sirius, or the dog star, he says, companion of Isis in her search for the body of Osiris, her brother and husband. Of course, because these Egyptian stories are older than the Israelitish ones, of course, but they're all kind of based around the same original like archetypal story. Then it became the image of Horus, the son of Osiris, himself symbolized also by the sun, the author of the seasons and the god of time, son of Isis, who was the universal nature himself, the primitive matter, inexhaustible light, inexhaustible source of life, spark of uncreated fire, universal seed of all beings. It was Hermes also, the master of learning, whose name in Greek is that of the god Mercury. It became the sacred and potent sign or character of the Magi, the Pentalpha, and is the significant emblem of liberty and freedom. That's why we see stars all the time, like on flags and stuff. It's that blazing star, that divine providence, that the pentagram. We see the pentagram everywhere. Emblem of liberty and freedom, blazing with a steady radiance amid the weltering elements of good and evil of revolutions, and promising serene skies and fertile seasons to the nations after the storms of change and tumult. So yeah, that pretty much covers all the book information I had on the checkerboard floor. There is a brief article too I was checking out online. Maybe I'll read a little bit from that too. I don't think it's too long. Might just have you guys go and check it out yourself if you want to. Yeah, it is about, looks like it's about 6 pages long or so. If you Google the Mosaic Pavement by Right Worshipful Brother John K. Johnston, it should come up. Yeah, it's 6 pages. And he's basically he's repeating a lot of the same information that we already just said, but he's giving you it more from like a Masonic context. Whereas in a lot of my videos, I try to cover all the different backgrounds and where, like, the symbolism, all the different sources of where the symbolism comes from. At least to my knowledge, there's always going to be older things and places that these symbols come from. But I'm just trying to give you an overall view as much as I can from, the information that I have. So there you have it. That's mostly the symbolism of the checkerboard floor, is it's you walking above duality. If you're going to be a magician, if you're going to be one who is, if you are source, if you're the center of the universe, you need to be above the duality and you're walking above it, and that's how you control your personal universe. And you even when you start forming your astral temple and things of that nature, I often see like a checkerboard floor sometimes. I'm going to start showing you some images here soon. We see the checkerboard floor everywhere though in culture, though, like in Super Mario Brothers 3. Here, I'll move this around so you can see. Of course, we know of that game. And there it is too. And it comes up a lot in the game. And then also you have Super Mario 64. We've shown it in videos before. There's the checkerboard floor in Super Mario 64. So yeah, same symbolism. The hero is walking on the pavement. He's conquered. He's reconciled the dualities within himself, so he's able to master the reality. Here's the Temple of Time in The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time. Yeah, I like this picture right here. I will often see my astral temple will often look very similar to this. But it's kind of also reminiscent of this room, too, in the Ocarina of Time. See how it changes there? And just imagine that floor, though, being like all checkerboard, though, and like a thinner layer of water. But it's a really bright temple, astral temple. And the checkerboard floor is just really prominent symbolism that's been there since I started my occult studies, as well as the pillars. The pillars are important. too. I also wanted to show you, this is called the White Temple in Thailand, I believe. And it has that same concept going on in this temple. Turn it around here so you can see. It's really beautiful. Really beautiful. If you just look up White Temple Thailand, it should come up. But in some of these pictures, you have this whole theme of, here you go. You have to like cross over. It's almost like a Dante's Inferno thing. You have to cross over this army of hands reaching up and grabbing. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Trying to grab, but that's you. There's even the yin and yang. It's the black and white. So that is representative too of the checkerboard floor in one of its aspects. So there's also some symbolism above the door in this temple too that I think is rather interesting. I think there's, yeah, the door to go inside the temple. There's like an all-seeing eye kind of thing up above it. You can kind of see it there a little bit. There's a triangle. Yeah, there's definitely pictures where it gets a little bit closer though. I don't know how much time I want to spend on that right this second, but here we go. This might be one. Ah, it's a really small picture, but yeah, there's definitely pictures around on the internet where it gives you a closer view of that, kind of the all-seeing eye right over the temple door. I'm just not having any luck at the moment. That's probably about the closest one I can get right there. Yeah, it actually looks more like a caduceus. All right, I'll take the camera back off for a minute. So yeah, I believe that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. Pretty much summed up the checkerboard floor pretty well. So I could read some of that article. I'll read the first couple pages of the article. Actually, what I will do, if I can, this actually is on my laptop, so it's hard for me to navigate around. All I really want to do is just, I don't know if I should sign out though. I'll wait till later. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that. I'll go ahead and read the first couple pages in that article I told you guys about on the checkerboard floor. The Mosaic Pavement. The black and white checkered floor has existed in temples since the times of ancient Egypt. So in this article, he's saying something a little bit different. More than simply decorative, the Mosaic Pavement bears a profound esoteric or special meaning. Today, it is one of Freemasonry's most recognizable symbols and is the ritualistic floor of all Masonic lodges. The pavement is the area on which initiations occur, and it is emblematic of human life, checkered with good and evil. The Mosaic Pavement is an old symbol of the order. It is met within the earliest rituals of the last century. It is classed among the ornaments of the lodge, along with the indented tassel and the blazing star. Its party-colored stones of black and white have been readily and appropriately interpreted as symbols of the evil and good of human life. We were talking about how the duality of that's a little bit more. You can get a little bit deeper into the duality of that. In the entered apprentice degree, the Mosaic Pavement represents the ground floor of King Solomon's temple. We've been talking a lot about foundation and ground floor. In the account of King Solomon's temple in the Bible, the ground floor is said to be made of pine or fir, depending on the Bible translation. The checkerboard floor upon which the modern Freemasonic lodges stand is the old tracing board of the Dionysiac Greek architects, and while the modern organization is no longer limited to workmen's guilds, it still preserves its symbols. When thinking of the idea of duality and the concept of good and evil, black and white, sacred and profane, an image that immediately enters my mind is that of the yin-yang. While the symbol has become a sort of pop culture icon in recent times, its symbolism is deep and its meaning applicable to this subject. While it has numerous interpretations, the yin-yang demonstrates the concept of duality and balance. The synonym balance is an important term. The synonym balance is an important term because of the position of the checkered carpet, the floor where the foundation of the erect human body may be found. The Mason is taught to avoid irregularity and intemperance and to divide his time equally by the use of the 24-inch gauge. These lessons refer to the importance of balance in a Mason's life. Therefore, the symbolism of the Mosaic Pavement could be interpreted to mean that balance provides the foundation of our Masonic growth. And then there are 4 more pages left on that article if you want to go and check that out yourselves. I was going to show you guys a little excerpt from my book, whatever I ended up writing about the Mosaic Pavement. I was going to try and find that real quick, but I don't want to sign her out of the computer if it's going to mess up any of her stuff, so I'm just going to leave that alone for now. That's something I can do later on if you guys are interested. If there's a certain topic that you know is Masonic, or it talks about the Kabbalah or the Tree of Life in some way, I've probably already written about it a little bit in my book, and I could share a little excerpt from that. So other than that, guys, I do want to do a video soon on, I've started writing notes on the grimoire of the Book of Sitra Akra, a grimoire of the Dragons of the Other Side by NAA 218. So that's going to be really interesting. We'll be taking a deeper philosophical dive into the Qliphoth and really the formation of the Tree of Life, even more esoteric understandings of that, because it gets really deep into that. So other than that, I hope you all are doing extremely well, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. Thank you for watching this channel. Thank you for being a part of this channel. It's a pleasure to have you along for the ride, and we're basically just educating ourselves. You know, our souls are learning more through symbolism and doing practices and studying spirituality. It's making us more whole and complete people as long as we ground that, you know, with the right things. We can be really powerful. So that pretty much sums it up. So thank you everyone for watching. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified of new videos, and please give a thumbs up. So until next time, everyone, take care.